sister or the sister-in-law had taken the children to Walmart.
Praise the Lord.
All right.
You said children, so there was more than
Yes,
just
he
the
did
baby.
confirm.
6-week-old baby.
All right, I'm gonna skip by you.
I noticed there was a basketball goal out in front of the yard.
That happened 1 mile from my house, and the guy was found 1 mile from Elizabeth's house in Atlanta.
You know how they track them? Flock camera.
Really?
Flock cameras tracking.
Boom. Good.
He hit in 2 or 3 locations.
Well, Chief Richardson mentioned that in the presentation.
Russell, that's something good to mention.
Hey, Pastor Greg.
Hey, Brett, how you doing?
How are you?
Good, 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 great. I'm late, so I don't need to be.
I'm just a minute ahead of you, so.
Thank you. How you doing?
All right, and we are live, just so everyone knows.
Okay. We'll start off with prayer with Pastor Smith.
Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you, we praise you, God, for this day. God, we thank you for this time that we have to gather together. God, we pray for your prudence and wisdom and guidance in all that we say and all that we do. God, we pray it will be a fruitful time. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Everybody received the minutes through email and they have read it. So we won't have the motion of the minutes. Okay, the first thing on the agenda is the IDA update.
Can we get a motion to approve the minutes? A
Could we
motion
get,
and a second, a vote.
could we get a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Okay.
You have the motion second that the minutes be approved. Are there any questions? All in favor by show of hands, the minutes stand approved. Okay, first we have, we're so glad to have Ms. Kyle Fletcher with us today. And I just want to say that Upton County is very proud to have Ms. Fletcher as the IDA director, because she's the person that will get out there and she will battle. She will battle. She will battle. If there's a job, there's anything that uplifts Upton County, you can put it down that Ms. Fletcher will be out there. So we're so happy to have you, and we let you know that Upton County is glad to have you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for allowing me to speak today. I've just got a brief PowerPoint that I would like to present to you. I appreciate your volunteer service on this Community Relations Committee as well, because looking at the agenda, you've got a lot of interesting and challenging things to consider, just like I do with a job with economic development. But the city and the county fund the development authority, and I consider us partners. So I wanted to get on the agenda today, and I've got, you don't have to look at this now, but I've got this full PowerPoint for each of you, and I'm going to work with Oasis to get it on YouTube. You'll be able to see better up here now, and I've got one for you too. So, but there are some misconceptions in this community, and that's what I kind of wanted to address today. This is a spring-summer update for 2021, and you'll see in my first slide here, I've got pictures. We went in our local industries, and we are so proud to have so many great, diverse industries in our community. And the reason the IDA puts so much emphasis on the industries that we already have is because they've made an investment in this community. And that's where 80% of the job growth is going to come from. Not a new industry coming in, but it's going to come from the industries that we already have. And we also work very closely with the school system, which I'm going to talk about a little later in this PowerPoint, with pathways and things like that. And they kind of may mold their curriculum to some of the manufacturers that we have in our community. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. I want to talk about a little bit of the numbers, because in our community, as in every community, you're kind of defined a little bit by the numbers. Our median household income is $54,182. The average median age in Upson County is 40 years old. We're also going to talk about the skill gap in a little bit, and it kind of carries an important message as well. Our population is male 47.5% and female 53.5% roughly. The next block is education attainment, and less than a 9th grade education is a little over 5% of our community. And grades somewhere between a 9th and a 12th grade education is 13.8%. That's a pretty high number. And those with a high school graduation or a high school degree are 36%. 20% have some college, 10% have an associate's degree, 8.4% have a bachelor's degree, and a graduate degree is held by a little over 5%. And the reason I'm telling that is it kind of sets the table. Those are the people that we're going to have in the workforce. And so that's who the industries and the HR directors are going to look for when they're trying to fill positions. And I wanted to talk today, I heard after this committee met that what we needed in our community was jobs. And it's quite the contrary, actually. What we need in this community is people to go to work, period, end of story. Because as an economic development practitioner, it's very frustrating when you've got industry screaming, Kyle, we're going to have to alter our hours or shut down because nobody will come to work. You know, there's the question, why? You know, and there are a lot of theories, but the bottom line is it doesn't really matter why. We don't need to spend time on that. We need to spend time developing initiatives within the school system and within this community and within your neighborhoods. And that's why I started with this committee, is because I want you to go back to your neighborhoods, your communities, your churches, your friends, and say, people are hiring, and this goes for entry-level positions all the way to, you know, supervisory positions. So I'm at the kicking and screaming point. You know, I've probably been a little passive and, you know, saying this is what we need, but you see retailers and restaurants closing or changing their hours or going to drive-through only because they can't find people to work. It is what it is. And that's what I kind of wanted to talk to today. And it's not just with entry-level positions. I look at the school system, and both of my children are proud graduates of Upson Lee High School, and right now they're having a very difficult time getting certified teachers in the school system. And what does that mean? Well, it means your child might be taught with somebody who didn't have a degree to actually teach. So I'm going to go from here to the school system and say, how can we collaborate or partner to address that issue? Then I'm going to the city council and I'm going to the county commission, and I'm going to ask each one of them to go back to their community, because you need to understand providing jobs is not the problem. There are hundreds of jobs that are available. Finding people to go to work, pass drug tests, show up on time, that's the problem. And that's the message. And there's no way to sugarcoat it. I know some of you work with students every day. And so whatever we need to do to get that message out, and in some cases break cycles, we want to try to do that. Upson Regional Medical Center is trying to hire nurses. And if you think that doesn't impact you, you're wrong, because when you get sick and they don't have enough nurses, your wait time's going to be longer. And you know, you don't want the delivery of health care impacted. But the message I want to get out is now Southern Crescent Technical College has an RN program. There are programs available in this community today. They need people to take advantage of it. I've gotten a little bit ahead of myself, but when I say there are jobs available, I can prove it. I could have done 10 slides, each having 5 or 6 companies on them. And actually, I was at a workshop last week, but I was just reading part of the Upson Beacon, and there's an article on how many jobs are available, and I believe over 40 companies were listed in that article. And so the message is getting out there. And I get some feedback from people, well, you know, the wages aren't good. Well, that doesn't cut it for me. My question back is, what skill set do you have? If you're in those numbers I showed a few minutes ago and you have an 11th grade education, what makes you think you deserve $16, $17 an hour when you have no experience? Get your foot in the door at an entry-level position, prove yourself, come to work, pass drug tests, and I promise you, you will move up. People are so desperate for workers now that you will definitely move up the ladder, and you'll eventually be at a pay rate that is very acceptable, and you can make a good wage with that. So I think, but the whole point is, when you hear, well, it doesn't pay enough, you need to flip that around on people, and if your expectation is $18 an hour, what are you bringing to the table? So that's just a little message. When I talk to industries, here's what they say. Their issues are skills gap. And a skills gap is what skill sets are needed to do this job, and then what do people have that are coming to apply for that job. Right now, when we did a teacher industry tour in the school system to give the counselors and the leadership an opportunity to talk straight to the facility directors and HR people, and they said, the students are having a hard time in interviews or dressing appropriately or whatever, and those are soft skills, shaking hands, eye contact, but passing drug test was the #1 issue, and it has been for years, and people even know that they're going to be drug tested. They'll say when they're interviewing with HR people, yeah, they'll pass, and then the results come back. And I've even heard the argument, because I will talk candidly with these students, and they may say, well, that, smoking a little marijuana is not that big of a deal. If you're on the assembly line at Intafor, which is a lumber company, and you're just a little bit slower with your job, you're going to impact the whole assembly line. And if you got a big old razor sharp, what do you call it? Thing that cuts wood, you don't want to be a little slow, and that person on each side of you doesn't want you to be a little slow. Not to mention the fact that it's illegal. So drugs are a big issue. And then the soft skills, and we're working with the school system to address that. So anyway, if I could get in the schools and preach to these kids, I used to do it before COVID to the marketing classes and do mock interviews. So there are some things that the school system is doing, especially the work-based learning, that's trying to address some of these problems. Dr. Mark Andrews with Southern Crescent Technical College and I have been working very closely with Three Rivers Regional Commission, which gave us a $50,000 grant. And what that was is to identify, okay, you've got high school seniors who graduate Friday. Some are going straight into the job force. Some may be going to a technical college, some a traditional university, some don't know, and some don't care. What we're trying to do is find those students who don't know what they want to do. So Dr. Andrews and Southern Crescent put together a 2-week course called Manufacturing Basics. And these students have to go for 8 hours a day for 2 weeks, and they will come out with a certification and a skill set. I mean, how unbelievable. For 3 months, we've been promoting this problem. 0 students signed up so far from Upson Lee. So we're trying a little bit different approach. And I think right now with stimulus checks and unemployment is even a more challenging time, but those payments are gonna run out. And some people are gonna be behind the 8 ball, other ones hopefully will jump on. It is a free opportunity for 2 weeks. And I was also looking at the paper on Thursday. Intervor's got a big ad in here. You can start at $18 an hour. That's with shift differential and things like that. And they offer wonderful benefits at Intervor. So we've got jobs, a hospital, the school system. If you want to sit behind a desk, there are opportunities in that field. I would be hard pressed to find anybody that really wants to work and wants a job that can't find one. You send them to me and I'll find them one. If they can pass a drug test, don't wear pajamas to an interview. There are certain things that we've got to work on. So, partnerships. I told you I'm starting. Y'all are my guinea pig committee. I'm giving this PowerPoint to you in hopes that you understand we are at a crossroad. When I have a board meeting later today and I have to get in front of the mayor and the county commission chairman and tell them what I'm doing, it's been hard to recruit industry through COVID for a number of reasons, but it personally scares me to recruit another industry right now because I can't get people to work for the ones that are already here. So that is the dilemma. And it's not up to one entity, it's up to all of us to get together, see are we investing in the right initiatives? Who's missing at the table with these initiatives? So I'm going to start barking today, and I'm going to keep barking at every level, and I welcome your input. I'll make sure Oasis has my contact information. If there's anything that you can do to help. I have been talking with my peers in economic development. What is your community doing? Because we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Let's find some communities that are already doing things that are about our size, something that would work here. Well, I found one that the high school in Covington, Georgia, Newton County, they do a job fair just for seniors.
Yeah, that's good.
I love that idea. So I took a picture of that flyer, and I'm going to go to the school system. Now, a high school senior, I was talking with Lori Smith at the chamber. We worked through high school. I had a job around my tennis schedule and my academics. We need to find jobs, and we have jobs available for high school age students that can drive, but their expectations need to be, you're not going to be a full-time employee making $15 an hour, and this is why. But job experience looks wonderful on a resume. It looks wonderful on a college application. So there are other reasons that students need to look at that. So I work very closely with Ricky English and the CTAE advisory board at the high school. Manufacturers Roundtable, Government Roundtable. We have a lot of the groups in place, but I'm just not sure that we're all working toward the same goal. And I keep mentioning the school system because I'll be going to them next. They are the ones that have the future workforce. K through 12, that is the future workforce. So I think it's going to all start there, but each of you with your relationships in the community, with your jobs, your volunteerism, you come across people, and this is the message that I want you to get out. Chili's was closed for a while, and then they were doing outdoor, drive-through only, takeout only. That's been a very common thing, and I don't want people that drive through our community and want fast food to experience that. It's not just a problem in Upson County, though. I will say that is a national problem now. But I'm much more concerned with what's going on in my community and what we're doing to make sure that these students and young adults have what they need. And what they need now is motivation, encouragement, and possibly physical motivation. You know, push them, get out of your comfort zone. Have you looked for a job? What are you gonna do all day, every day? You know, how are you gonna provide for your family? So, let's see. I wanted to come to you and be candid, which I have, because we have a problem. And we need to fix the problem. It's not up to the IDA or the city or the county or school system alone. It's up to every one of us. And we all touch different areas. So we've got to get this message out. Our industries and our retailers and restaurants, they're vital to the heartbeat of this community, and we've had so much positiveness in the last 18 to 24 months, and I want that to continue. But when you're recruiting companies and you can't even satisfy the ones that you have, that's an issue. So a lot to digest. Please take that and feel free to reach out to our office. I thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those as well.
Any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
What can I find the list of the jobs and what types of jobs and the salary and the compensation package, et cetera, and the skill sets required for this?
Okay. My suggestion is for people to go on Indeed.com. And if you type in Indeed.com, if you type in Thomaston, Georgia, I know the chamber is posting a lot of those on their Facebook page. I saw an HR director for DART today, Human Resources Director, but Indeed.com. And I believe if someone doesn't have internet access, does the Civic Center still have
Computer lab.
the computer lab they can go to? I also know that if you go to Standard Textile, they have computers and people that will help you go on there and fill out an application. So the public library, I believe, has computer capabilities. Indeed.com is a real good place. But if you get to a computer, you know, Google Thomaston Mills or Dart Container or any of the industries. When I ride past Ingalls, when I ride past Zaxby's, Chick-fil-A, you know, wherever, you'll see now hiring out on the sign. So, you know, get people to pull in. But I would think the internet would be the one-stop shop for somebody not having to get out and physically do all that. And if they're a high school student, go to your guidance counselor and say, I want a job. Or go to your teacher and say, I heard about this 2-week course that is no cost for Southern Crescent for 2 weeks, and I'll come out with a certification. So, and like I said, Oasis will give you my contact information. I'm happy to talk to anybody or walk them through it as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other comment?
It's a great presentation.
Well, thank you. You see it firsthand.
Yeah.
And I know so many of these young people, I want the best for them, but, you know, people have told me throughout my life, I've got to put some skin in the game, and it's time to tell them, you know, somebody's not going to knock on your door and say, hey, come work for me. You've got to get out, you got to identify what you have to bring to this business and get in and work your way up.
Sorry, the drug problem, you said not passing the drug test, is this mainly for marijuana or any other substance?
There's a panel, and I don't want to speak for what each industry does, but typically, I think mostly it's marijuana. But there's a panel of probably 3 or 4 things, all illegal drugs that come up. But I think we all recognize that that's an issue in itself.
Any more comments? Well, no comment. We thank you for coming.
Well, you're so welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm going to scoot upstairs because I've got another meeting, but thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming.
A standard 5 panel is THC, opiates, PCP, cocaine, and amphetamine.
Okay, we want to thank IDA for giving us an update. And I want to thank the community. I want to thank the city council for establishing this committee. When I last checked, over 500 people have come on YouTube and got involved in the conversation. This is all is a conversation, and any time that we can get the community in a conversation, we can come out with some policy. And that's what we're about, is policy information. Again, we want to thank the committee for volunteering to come up and be a part of it. And we are so appreciative to you. Okay, next thing we have on is the discussion of the RLE institution. And on last meeting, we made a motion to table it. And like I said, we had a lengthy discussion on it last time we met, of hours discussion on it. Is there a recommendation? Anybody have a recommendation prepared?
Mr. Chairman, could I make a statement? And I'd like for this to just go on the record. I don't know if y'all have been paying attention to the news today, or this weekend, but there's a meeting that happened today with CEO Bill Stevens at Stone Mountain Memorial Association. He's the CEO, and that meeting was, well, it's actually happening right now because it was a 1 o'clock meeting. So I don't know what the results is, but they are actually, talking about this, pretty much the very same thing, and what they will do as a company that runs the Stone Mountain Memorial Association, and how will they go forward, and dealing with the monuments, the statues, and all of those things that one of the recommendations that they're considering is putting all those things together in a museum. So there's a great article in the Atlanta Constitution that's it's called "What Telling the Truth About Stone Mountain Might Look Like," and I'm assuming it came out. I copied it, but I think it came out on May 21st. So if anybody wants to go and look at it, I think it could be very eye-opening for if you read it. I'd just like to read my statement this time. And I have been in Thomaston for almost 35 years. I came to this community in November 1986 to pastor my first church. I know that a part of my responsibility as pastor would be my involvement in the affairs of the community. My first encounter with racism was putting a contract on a home on Jackson Avenue, where somebody graffitied the house before we closed on the house and said that we were not welcome, and that is the edited version of what was said. We knew that was meant to scare us away from the neighborhood, but it only confirmed that was exactly where we were supposed to be. Ever since that time, we have been breaking down walls of division and building bridges in this community. Beverly and I have been so blessed to meet and work with so many wonderful people in this community over the last 3 decades. To this day, I don't ever recall regretting coming to this community. That would be like regretting that I obeyed God. I believe that the most challenging task before us is race relations. When we talk about the Confederacy, one group thinks heritage and history, but there's another group that thinks oppression and supremacy, because that was the sole purpose of the Civil War, to keep us in slavery. The United Daughters of the Confederate erected scores of monuments over the South. They were not just about memorializing Confederate soldiers, but historians say their real aim was to immortalize a warped history of the war and remind new emancipated blacks of their place in society. The Jim Crow laws would limit their ability to vote, work, and get an education. Public monuments would remind them who was in charge. These laws were in place from 1870 to 1965. This is 2021. Many have fought and struggled and died so that we could experience liberty and justice for all. In 2019, when the Georgia legislators passed a new law with regard to all Confederate emblems, monuments, statues, etc., they spoke loud and clear. This is our history, and it's not going anywhere. This Georgia law, just like the Jim Crow laws of 100 years, must ultimately be changed because it is an unjust law and immoral. If there were not men and women who were willing to put their lives on the line so that liberties would come to all people, where would we be today? And when I think about, the many instances of laws that were in the books, federal laws as well as state laws, but there was somebody that was willing to challenge those laws, and that's how laws were changed. And I just want to say to this committee and to the city council that, if we're looking for a solution that's not a radical solution, we're probably not going to find one. And somebody will have to be willing to say this is, even though it's a law, even though it's on the books, but it's not right, it's immoral, it's unjust, it doesn't represent all of the people of this community. And what that does is it tells me that even though you pay your taxes and you do all the things that's required of you legally in this community, but there's not respect for your rights as a citizen, because what happens in our community, it should be for all of us and not just a certain group. Thank you.
Any more comments?
I applaud Reverend Gregg's comment because I agree with him.
Can we get a motion that we accept that statement as a committee?
If we need to,
Right.
I move that we accept his statement into the record.
Okay, sir. Pastor, get something?
You shouldn't ask for that for a second.
I really don't agree. I don't agree with this. I've been with the children in the school system for 40 years. And I can say, honestly say, I have never been racist, or I'm not racist at all. And I've never been that way. Now, I'll tell you one thing, if a child does something wrong, because I was a very strict and stern teacher, I'm going to get on to them. And a lot of times, maybe people thought, oh, it's because of their color. Not for me. And I feel a lot of teachers feel the same way I do. And I feel like if we're going to make laws, why can we just all of a sudden decide to change them? I've been in this community over 50 years, and I've seen a lot of good changes, but I don't understand why you want to change the name of Robert E. Lee when all this time it's been the school and the children that go there and graduate from there. They accepted it. I think it's more the adults that wanted this changed. But I just don't agree with what you're saying.
You said that, may I speak? You said that you don't agree with changing laws, so you think slavery was a law. It was a law in this country. Do you agree or disagree that it's a law that needed to be changed?
Well, I disagree with that law of slavery, but
It was a law.
I wasn't there then.
I know, but excuse me, but you can't keep using as an excuse that you wasn't there. None of us were there. Okay, so we're not talking about whether or not we personally did something. You didn't do anything to us in slavery because you wasn't there. Okay,
That's right.
and so and none of us should say that we have never done anything wrong. That
Oh, I'm not saying I have never done anything wrong.
Okay, the Jim Crow's law, you know what Jim Crow laws were?
Yeah.
Okay, were they wrong or right?
Well, I really haven't thought about that.
Well, I want you to think about it, because those are laws that discriminated against us. Those are laws that separated us. Those are laws that were intended to make sure that we didn't get an education, that we didn't have jobs, you know, that we couldn't have a life. That's what the Jim Crow law was about.
Well, I still disagree with you because that already.
Now I'm asking. I just asked you.
Okay.
You said you know about the law. I'm asking you. You said some laws
I don't know
don't need
all
to be
laws.
changed.
I
No,
don't
I'm saying
know
the Jim.
all
I asked you about the Jim Crow
Reverend
law.
Smith, I don't know all of
I
them.
asked you about the Jim Crow law. Did you know about that law, and what did you think about it? Because it was a law to keep blacks and whites separated.
Okay, so that's your problem.
No, it's
Keeping
not.
the blacks and whites separated. I mean,
I just-
bring them all together. I think they are together. I think we've made a big progress in this. But you want
No.
to take the name of this building. Why?
Because R.E. Lee fought against the United States to keep black people in slavery, ma'am.
I got a question. Can I ask you a question? It's wrong to take the name R.E. Lee down,
Yes.
but it was not wrong to take Drake down.
Well, who took the Drake down?
This was the law that was made, that we would shut Drake and make R.E. Lee the thing.
But
Yes.
I think we need to stay focused on I think we need to stay focused on what R.E. Lee meant to this country, and what, you know, and that's totally different from what Mr. Drake meant to this community. And so, you know, R.E. Lee was a man who believed in slavery, and he fought for it. 620,000 people died in the Civil War because they were fighting over whether or not to keep us as slaves.
Why are you now coming out with all of this?
You said now. I didn't come up with it. I was appointed to this committee just like you.
I mean, I just don't understand why people are wanting to take the name off a building that's been here forever. Children went to the school and they graduated and they were happy then. But we are trying to take something out, just like Worthy.
It's
Okay,
history.
Mr. Worthy. Have you ever read Dr. Clyburne's book?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, you need to read it because he has a part in there about
Which-
Mr. Worthy.
But you're missing
when
the
they
point.
can change.
You're missing the
Let
point.
me say about Mr. Worthy. Look up Mr. Worthy. Mr. Worthy, he worked hard for this community.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he was like crying on his deathbed, because everything that he put up, it was taken away.
I don't agree. We can always make and say things that we want it to be on our side. But, you know, it's here. It's not a school anymore. The name's on there. I went to a school in Macon. A.L. Miller High School for Girls. Did you think I knew who Mr. Miller was? No. Do I care?
Mr. Miller,
A.L. Miller?
well, you went to the school. You should have known.
No, I didn't. No, you don't. You think all these people, these children know what this school means? No.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was.
Okay,
We just
you're-
had a good time,
Yeah.
and everybody was happy, and I would fight somebody to try to change it. And they have changed it. They have made a apartment out of it.
That has nothing to do with what
And-
we're dealing with here. We're
And
talking about
that
the
name
Confederacy.
still remains.
Yeah, but we're talking about the Confederacy.
Confederacy is over.
Take it down.
If it's over, but it still is. It's a stain. You
It
know?
isn't a law that it has to stay because of the historical value in this.
Yeah,
And you're gonna try,
but we're
this
talk-
is our problem too. All we wanna do is break the laws over and over and over again, and that's what's happening in our country.
A few years ago, there was no law about removing Confederacy, but Congress got together and made a law to preserve anything that it needed to do. You have to make a law. If it's moral wrong, if it's not, make a law. So this what Pastor Greg has said, it was moral wrong for them to make that law.
That happened in 2019. It wasn't a law that's been here on the books 100 years. Why did they do that?
Well, Get Dr. Cliven's book. and
Hey
read
man,
what
I'm
he
not
has
gonna
to
read Dr. Cliven's book because we're talking about something else.
say.
That's
No,
not-
it states in there why we have the name already, and Mr. Worthy went along with it because they said they were gonna change, and then
Okay.
Mr. Worthy went along with it. He said, no, we're not.
But
that
before,
doesn't make it right.
but
Because
before Dr.
Cliven-
Clive died, he fought to take the name down. Because he was on the biracial committee.
Whatever. You have your opinion, I have mine. Thank goodness can have opinions.
It's great to have conversations. That's all this is, conversation. Do we have a motion, recommendation?
What is the motion?
You made a motion, and nobody seconded.
Could I second, no?
I'll second the motion.
You have a motion and second that we adopt as the racial committee.
Yeah, it was. Can I say something? I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I don't know if that has to be a motion. I mean, it's being recorded, so I don't know if it has any purpose in actually being adopted into the record.
This is what we are asked for.
Yeah.
Asked for by the city council.
Yeah. But I
City
just-
council supposed asked us to send them a recommendation.
Okay, but see, I just wanted I needed to make a personal statement so that everybody. I want people to know, what I believe and where I stand. I have been in this community, for many, many years, and I have worked with people across every line, racial line, denominational line, cultural line, every kind of line, and I've dealt with all kinds of people, and I have a reputation that I would stand behind, and I don't have to talk about accolades or brag about anything that I've done, but I've worked with people, and so I've been in the school system as well. I've mentored a lot of young people, and but for us to be able to move forward, there has to be an acknowledgement that black people were mistreated, black people were discriminated against. There are people who were directly involved in those kinds of things that happen. It's easy to say, well, it wasn't me, I didn't do it. Nobody's blaming you. It's not a personal thing, but we have systematically been discriminated against. So you might say, well, I've never been pulled over by a police officer, told to get out the car, and ask him where you going, where'd you come from, and never tell you why they pulled you over, make you do things that you feel like you shouldn't have to do as a law-abiding citizen. You probably never experienced that. I've experienced it, a number of times. You moved to Thomaston, you said 40 years ago?
No, over 50 years.
Over 50 years ago. You had nobody graffiti your house and tell you that they didn't want you in their community. You haven't experienced that, so you don't know what that feels like as a black person. We were renting an apartment, and when we got to the apartment and they saw that I was a black man, they told me over the phone that it was available. When I got to the apartment, it was no longer available. So those are things that, just to name a few, that happen to us, over and over and over again. And for you not to have, I know you can't empathize, but you need to be able to sympathize with us people in the black community. This is not bitterness or anger or anything like that, but it's just acknowledging history, acknowledging the fact. That's what we want to do with the Confederacy. We want to acknowledge this history. We're not trying to erase it. We're not trying to make it disappear. We want to acknowledge that, yes, this is history. This is what happened, okay? And yes, you can call it, if you're a daughter or son of Confederacy, then you can say it's heritage. But for us, it was bad news. For the things that happened, to African Americans, from slavery to Reconstruction to Jim Crow to civil rights, that was a struggle. But we went through the struggle, and we didn't just go through it alone. There were a lot of white people that came alongside of us, and marched with us and went through things that, same things that we went through. We did it together. It's not been a struggle just blacks against whites, but there are some people who want to feel like that they are still superior, or that they are a supreme race. And we're saying that, that's not the way it should be. Okay, we have to come into this building and we pay our taxes just like everybody else. And to you, the name doesn't mean anything, but to us, it's a symbol of our past, a bad part of our past.
Well, it's Southern too. You're in the South.
Exactly.
And that they have a lot of things like that that's going on in the South. But it's history. History
I
is
just said
over,
that.
and you move ahead and try to do better, and you have. You made your place in the community. I'm glad. I'm happy for all this. But not to go back and change everything because you don't like it.
Yeah, some things have to be changed.
Are you ready to vote?
Who we vote for?
There is hand up.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say, maybe just to give a little direction, I think the whole idea of this committee was just discuss topics like this. And one of the things to discuss was that name, and Ms. Hall, just to sort of give it a little bit of direction, the whole thing came to a point a bit because that name, as you said, it hasn't been a school for a long time. And that name continues to reside over the top of a government building that now represents all of our citizens, regardless of color. And so that was, the discussion was, is that appropriate now? There is a law that says that you can't do that, but the discussion was to say, how do we deal with that issue, and what can we do in order to make sure that we represent all of our citizens equally? But the whole thing came up because that name resides over the building that represents the government, where all of our, and even some court sessions are held, that represents all of our citizens. And I think, it's been said, that name has represents a particular effort that, did we want to leave it up there to represent the government that represents all people?
Well, my thinking and your thinking aren't the same. I'm sorry. I just have a different thinking. I am not a racist person. It's just like I told the school board. I have friends, white friends, and I have some I like, and I have some I don't like. I have black friends I like, and black friends I don't like. Like, they won't be friends, but they're people I don't like. And I want to be honest. I was taught from when I was growing up, you tell the truth and you don't tell lies when the truth you know, and you're going to agree with somebody when you don't agree. I'm not going to do that. And I don't do it on the school board, which I'm sure y'all know. But, you just can't, it's history. Put it behind you. Go forward. That's what y'all done. Y'all have gone forward. And you've done a lot of things. Dr. Martin Luther King, I admire him. He's gone ahead. He went ahead and set things good for everybody.
He got a whole lot of laws changed so that we could have the life that we have now. Yeah, he worked very hard and gave his life.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. And I admire him for it.
Changed laws, though.
Why
Laws
don't
had
we
to change.
memorialize him on the building?
Well, why didn't they? You've got roads named for it. You've got other things named for it. Buildings are named for it. Do you gonna take those off too?
It's not, it's not that I'm gonna take name. I don't understand where you coming from or where you heading, but everybody said that the school children are okay with this. Who are they? Because I know people in school children who weren't happy with it. And then, as you say, when you learn better, you do better. And because we went to our release school, we didn't know a whole lot of things because a lot of things weren't taught to us. But when we learned better, we did better. And that's the thing with society. When you learn better, you do better.
I just don't
And
understand.
slavery isn't an issue where it was good. And I
It was,
wouldn't want
but it's history.
a lot of things are history. That's why you want to go forth and change things, but you can't erase it. What happened to people and just say y'all ought to do better, y'all ought to just go about your business and put it behind you. When things are done to people, you just can't put things behind you. A rape victim can't put being raped behind them and just go about their business. They're gonna think about it.
Well, there are a lot of things that's happened to me, and I think about it too. But it's nothing I can do about it. I accept it and go ahead. That's exactly what I do.
You know, we was challenged as a committee to bring a recommendation back because the city council is the one that makes the decision. And when the city council picked the committee, they personally picked 5 people with 5 different opinions and 5 different attitudes. But we as a committee, we have to, we've been talking about this about 2 hours, and saying, we like to say, personally, we need to give a recommendation about it. And it has been motion and second that we accept Pastor Smith's recommendation.
Okay, that wasn't a recommendation.
You don't want to turn in?
I'm saying it wasn't a recommendation in there. I shared from my heart, I wanted to do that to this committee so that everybody know where I stand. But I'm saying I didn't have a recommendation as to what we should do. So we can't use it as a recommendation.
Okay, where we go from here then?
Because I wanted to say too, this is where I stand. And everybody has their opinion.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Like I said, the only way to solve it is vote.
Well,
Yes, sir.
Well, just one last thing, I'll stop. You know, there is a law that prevents that from coming down, but that's not the only solution. There can be other solutions to discuss. And again, there are discussions about how to contextualize or how to do things that discuss it. And part of that is the discussion involving Stone Mountain. But the thing is, you could decide, well, don't do that, but let's do this to in some way make a statement of you know, how to discuss this and why that name is there. So I'm not, you know, this whole discussion is really about how do you feel, what is the recommendation, you know, could the recommendation be to, you know, one possibility is moving out, obviously that's the costly one. The other one is to take it down, there's a law against that, how do you deal with that? But then there can be other solutions. And that's kind of what we ask y'all to just think about, you know, are there any other solutions that might address the issue?
To be honest with you, I have thought hard, but I can't think of any. And I don't know if other kind of what y'all thoughts are, but you know, other than moving to another location, I can't really think of anything else that we could do since our hands are, the law has pretty much tied our hands. I just don't know what that recommendation would be.
You know, what I'm listening at, what I'm hearing, you know, we have come, I mean, each come to one conclusion. I mean, one conclusion. Everybody said the same thing. You know.
No, we're not saying the same thing.
Yes, we are. Take it down.
No, we're not saying that. She did not.
No, that's mine.
Okay. But yeah.
Where we go from here?
I think if we don't have a recommendation, then we don't. If we don't have one, then we can't give one today. So we don't want to just kind of waste the time.
Okay.
You guys want to table it?
Yes.
I'll promotion that we do.
second.
Second motion. Every motion,
So,
every motion second that we table it. Is there any discussion? All in favor, by show of hand. Bad as I hate to do it. Okay, let's move on. Okay, now we are down to this word, literacy. What is it? Litter. That's
Littering.
litter. It's we talk about litter.
excuse me, when we take on issues like this, it would be beneficial if we like give a tour, you know, for the littering and for the homelessness, and we said something about the names and the monuments, if we could just get an overall picture of what we dealing with.
Sure. Has anybody driven down a city street lately?
All the time.
Yep.
Were your eyes open or closed?
Close.
Did you notice anything thrown out that probably shouldn't have been?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
You said that you might offer us a tour.
Sure, and I asked Ms. Oasis, if you want to solidify a date, maybe that would be the more appropriate means. I can schedule and provide the vehicle. If y'all want to have, maybe if you have your calendar, if your phone, if you want to give me maybe two dates, we can follow back up via email confirmation. We'll solidify a date and a time. We'll meet out in the parking lot and we can orchestrate a tour. Maybe just give you a better, interpretation of what we say when we mean litter. And that is a complicated term because some of the littering is by default from people who think they're putting their trash out but are otherwise in violation of city ordinances. So we'll do that. If you want to shoot some dates, we'll be glad to facilitate that.
Probably you look at the calendar and email us, and like you said, we'll try to coordinate our time with you.
Y'all want to try to do it pretty soon? Maybe this week? Or what's y'all's schedule?
Probably
The
next week
calendar's
be better.
pretty full with all the school activities going on for me. Maybe if we get it early in the morning.
About next week.
Not real early.
Next week? That work for y'all?
Maybe Tuesday. Is that the second? Tuesday the second?
June 2nd?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Can't do that one. How about Wednesday the 3rd?
Wednesday the 3rd.
June the 3rd. How'd that look?
The 3rd?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that on Thursday?
That's the 3rd is on the Wednesday. No, it's not.
Thursday.
3rd is on the Thursday. Sorry.
Okay.
So I said the 3rd?
June the 3rd?
And the
Thursday.
June 3rd.
Thursday.
Y'all have a preference on time? Y'all want to do a morning?
I would.
Yeah, morning will
8:30?
That'd be fine with me.
Need to do later?
be, no,
But-
8:30, I can make it.
About 9 o'clock.
I'm just retired and I like sleeping, but
We do 9 o'clock.
no, 8:30 is fine.
Okay.
8:30 now.
That good with y'all, everybody?
Meet here?
Yes, ma'am. Do you know where my office is? The upstairs on that end?
No, I can find it.
Okay, it's just second floor on that end of the building. If y'all want to just meet there, and then we can kind of go over some ground rules and we'll hit the road. Maybe plan 45 minutes to an hour. That work?
That's good.
And I'll send out an email confirmation for everybody and remind you guys.
Okay. Anything other discussion on litter?
Yeah, I'm gonna do, we'll do some litter, and I'm gonna do overall just general code, health and safety issues, substandard structures, dilapidated structures. So we'll try to get a good mix.
Okay, next on the agenda is the homelessness. Can you give some insight on that?
You know, we've commissioned the Public Works Director to demolish one structure that seemed to be a commonplace within Greatest Generation Park. You know, to comment on individual specific issues of homelessness, I can't comment on, other than you do notice there being more of an uptick in what seems like displaced persons throughout the community. We did have a good meeting. Oasis, who was the pastor we met with? Do you remember?
I remember.
About general partnerships with the Ministerial Association in general to provide and identify hopefully some resources, both for the city and for the persons who may be displaced, to offer that in the future. So conversations are happening on that front, and as we move, you know, more in, we'll be glad to report back.
Pastor Stinson.
Stinson?
He's pastor on Bethel Street,
7th Advent.
7th Adventist.
He reached out to the mayor and requested a meeting, and just wanted to help identify resources.
Is there any objective that would jump out that we can start thinking about how we can help the situation?
You know, yes, sir.
I was just gonna say, I think one of the things we have to come to a conclusion as to whether or not we have genuine, authentic homelessness, you know, as a problem. I'm not saying that nobody is homeless, but is it a problem in our community, something that we can address as a community?
Right.
I'm not sure if that's the case, but
Is it something seen visible? Do you see people on the?
You can. My general interaction comes when I'm contacted by a business entity, right? And the business entity requests that either people are trespassed off, or in the event where structures are built that you know they become demolished. So that's my limited interaction. My conversation via public safety is, a lot of it is, you know, some of the people do live in Thomaston, right? They do have houses, they're just maybe out on the street, whether they be mental health issues, substance abuse issues, or things like that. Doesn't necessarily correlate to homelessness, but there is, you know, a void of resources that we could deploy to maybe help those people. So I think it's going to be a combination of that.
Excuse me,
Yes, ma'am.
you said something about the Public Works Director has been asked to do.
There's a little white shack over in Greatest Generation Park we're going to tear down. We've had some problems with people staying.
Are conversations going along with these people to find out their circumstantial situations?
When there's interaction, the police do, you know, they inquire, right?
And sort of follow up on something Russell says, I think sometimes we see people that, Reverend made a comment, is it a legitimate issue? Homelessness is always something that we don't want, but sometimes I know I saw two people in the last couple of weeks that we would have probably looked at them and thought they were homeless. But they weren't in fact homeless. They have a home. They just had some mental issues that make life difficult and make their cleanliness more of a challenge to them. And so sometimes, you know, there may be people who may be categorized as homeless because they appear homeless, but they may not in fact actually be. So one of the thoughts is, how do you get to the bottom of that question? Do we have a legitimate issue? And if we do, how do we deal with that? Or is it even the city's issue, other than having concern for it? Is it more of an issue that maybe the Ministerial Association might better address, or certainly have a hand in addressing?
Probably be a good idea to talk with them, get a feel of what's going on with them, you know, see if it's a mental issue or if it's a legitimate issue. And if you spot them, if you know who they are.
I can see this being a major problem. And like I said, I pray that we can come together and come to some conclusion on both illiteracy and homelessness, because we have to love one another. Okay, that's the end of our, any other business?
Y'all want to set another date?
What date would be?
The 21st deal, that'd be a month from
21st of June.
Like a Monday.
would that be about a month from now?
Anybody have an objection with 21st?
Does this time frame still work for you guys, around 1?
Good. So, everybody in agreement 21st? June 21st, 1 o'clock. Is there any other discussion, any other business? I want to thank the city manager for reminding me, because last week we left without setting a date. I thank you for it. Okay, it's another business. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Off that motion.
If the motion second, that we will adjourn. Thank you, and thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, turn the live stream on, you're fine.
I want to make sure I got that right.